The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. All right. Welcome back to Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
Yeah, we thought it appropriate to play some Linkin Park, so we'll play those coming in and out of break. Talking about the Cubs, we talked about their farm system pretty much for that first segment, and how they're sort of middle of the pack, and they're not as bad as a lot of people think. It's not like we're I can't think of an example really, but it's not like we're Kansas City or something. I don't know.
Right, it's not in a situation where it's like they have nothing, like when Theo took over the system. Really didn't have anything.
This isn't 2012.
The thing is, a lot of like the most talented players are so far at the lowest levels of the system and haven't really made a name for themselves yet, or haven't had that big breakout year.
Right.
And if they keep playing like this, there's a good chance the Cubs will be making another move. They've been linked to Sonny Gray, Justin Verlander, Kevin Gossman, Zach Britton, Alex Avila, and some of those guys they might have to part with one of their top position players at the major league level.
Right.
Which with the Jose Quintana trade, I thought that was huge. They didn't trade one person from their World Series winning team. They traded all from the farm system.
Yeah, and that was huge. And, of course, no one ever thought, a deal could be made between the Cubs and the White Sox. It just doesn't happen. Of course, last time it happened was 2006 with Neil Kotz being traded.
Neil Kotz for David Aardsma. And
how did that work out? Not too well for both teams. So.
And, here's the thing. I know David Kaplan said that he had a source with the White Sox organization that said if the Cubs didn't win the World Series last year, there's no way Reinsdorf would have authorized that trade.
I don't know. How much rain are they giving Rick Hahn is sort of the question. Because I know Kenny Williams isn't really in charge anymore. At least that's the feel. So,
Kenny who? He's maintained such He's maintained such a low profile since that Drake LaRoche situation last year.
Oh my gosh, that was a disaster. The 2015 White Sox was that 2016? Okay, yeah, that was the beginning. Yeah, the 2015 too, but the 2015-16 White Sox, that was a disaster.
Yes, he said that there's no way Reinsdorf would have given the Cubs like a really good piece that would help them break their title drought, and he said now that they won it, it doesn't really matter. And the thing is, at this point, if it's going to help your club, you have to do it. It worked out for both teams. The Cubs got this cost-controlled starter for multiple years that they've been trying to get for a long time, and now, if they go out and get somebody else, and let's say they have to part with one of their position players on the major league roster, there are 3 players currently that, regardless of who that player is, it's an automatic no, regardless of who the pitcher is and all of that. Like, how Rick Hahn said if the Cubs wanted Sale, the package started around Bryant, and that was an automatic no. There's 3 position players that I would consider never trading for anybody. You want to take a guess at who those are?
Chris Bryant.
Obviously, yes. 2 of them are easy.
Anthony Rizzo.
That would be the second.
Are we talking about the current team right now?
Current team, yeah, at the major league level. Let's say they have to part with a position player in order to get, a Sonny Gray or, some other elite, like a Michael Fulmer, or Chris Archer.
Last year I would have told you Russell would be the third one.
But, he'd be in consideration, yeah.
But I don't know about that right now.
He's been hitting much better since the second half started. It really started when he hit that game-winning home run against the Orioles in the first game back after they blew that 8-0 lead.
Right. Hayward wouldn't be an untouchable, but he's not being moved.
No, his contract's too big. No team rebuilding would want him and his contract.
Right now, and not including a pitcher, I would say Ian.
The position players.
Yeah, I would say Ian Happ, just because of the way he's been hitting right now.
Yeah, he's been hitting really good, except that's not my number 3.
Okay, who's your number 3?
Contreras.
Okay, yes. Contreras would, yeah. Okay,
and my reasoning is
you can make a strong case
he's
for
a
that.
franchise catcher. Those are impossible to find.
True.
He's a good pitch framer. He calls a good game. He's good at blocking. He throws out he throws out the majority of his base runners. He has one of the highest caught stealing percentages in baseball. He can hit.
He came out of the second half, and he's hitting like a monster right now. He's hitting bombs. He's driving in runs. He's throwing people out. He's doing everything. It's
right. And I remember
it's really great
when there was the whole Miguel Montero, Jake Arrieta fiasco against the Nationals, and he said that hey, these stolen bases are on the pitcher, and then Anthony Rizzo was just kind of like, if you're going to go and blame it on someone else, you're a selfish player.
That was the funniest thing.
Our other catcher throws everybody out, and then a stat came out that when Contreras catches Arrieta, he has caught 40% of the base runners. That's only 2 out of 5, though.
I mean, that's still...
Except, that's better than Montero.
That makes more sense with somebody who's slow to home plate.
Right, and Arrieta
not just completely all over the place like Montero.
And Arrieta has an ERA about 2 points better with Contreras catching.
Yeah, I loved what Anthony Rizzo said there. He said, if he's like, well, we got another catcher that doesn't seem to have any problems. So I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
And then I look, and he said Contreras has thrown out 2 of the 5 base runners when he's catching Arrieta. And another thing, he picks guys off. Like, he's a franchise catcher. He won't be. I don't think he'll be as good of a hitter pure hitter as Buster Posey, except he's that kind of player you want behind the plate. He's versatile. He picks guys off, has a cannon of an arm, pitch framing.
Only thing he needs to work on is those drop third strikes, throwing them to first, not airmailing Anthony Rizzo. Let's not do that. But other than that,
he's literally everything you want in a franchise catcher, and it's a young franchise catcher. It's not going out and signing a 31-year-old free agent to a 5-year, $80 million deal.
Yeah, let's not do that.
And it really, I think this year is really showing the progress he's made and why they brought him up last year so that he could learn from David Ross. And I think he's really taken that next step forward.
It was invaluable the way that
he was
David
mentored.
Ross was there last year. Yeah, it was just huge.
And that's another thing where the wins above replacement stat is kind of irrelevant, is the leadership and the mentoring young players.
Yeah.
David Ross was worth more than however many wins above replacement he was. Because mentoring Contreras, and now Contreras, I believe he switched to a lighter bat.
Yeah, he's using Victor Caratini's bat.
Yeah, that's what he did. And since he's done that, he's been hitting close to 400, and he did it right before they had that game when they got killed by the Brewers.
Uh-huh.
And that game, he actually hit a home run. That was actually the most exciting thing I've seen the past couple games I've been to. It was a solo home run
when
they were losing 9-1, and it was a solo home run was the most exciting thing I've seen.
He also
he tore apart the Orioles pitching staff, and batting cleanup. His stats are off the charts, unreal. He's hitting around 400. He's been hitting home runs, and it was actually before he got on this real hot streak that I was like, this is a true franchise catcher. Like, he's like that when you think of the real ace of your pitching staff. Like, he's that as your catcher. They literally have that. It's not like you have maybe a 1B leading your staff. Borderline could be an elite catcher doing all the catching things right. It's like, no, he's everything that you want as a catcher, offensively and defensively.
Absolutely.
And he's having fun, and it seems like he's a good teammate to everyone, too. And he's so taken on from David Ross, even regarding John Lester not throwing to first base. It's like, don't worry about them. I got them. If they get too far off the base, I got them. If they want to run, I got them. And it seems like John Lester has that confidence with Contreras catching that he'll take care of the base runners.
Yeah, and another thing before we go to break is just an interesting fact that Wilson Contreras scored the first runs of the first half for the Cubs and the first runs of the second half, each on 3-run homers.
That's right. He hit that 3-run homer on opening night against the Sangwon Oh in the top
was
of the
that
ninth
exciting.
inning.
That was something. I thought that game was over. My dad had gone to bed, and all of a sudden he hears like a scream from downstairs. I'm like, oh yeah.
Same here. My dad had gone to bed, and Contreras hits that home run, and It's just like as every day goes by, I'm starting to like him more. Like,
oh yeah, he was great.
Yeah, I mean, and also he's one of those under the radar guys. He was signed by the Jim Hendry administration.
That's right. He was. A lot of people don't realize that.
And he was actually signed as a third baseman. He wasn't a catcher when he was signed. And that's the definition where these young guys in the system that haven't had their breakout years. No one probably had ever heard of Wilson Contreras prior to the 2015 season. That was
we had never heard of him.
That was his breakout year. He hit 332, led Double-A in hitting. And I remember that year, that was the first year that they got good again. And Montero had gotten injured and went on a rehab assignment at Double-A, and he sent out like a series of tweets just raving about this guy. This is when people are starting to realize, starting to put him on the map. And someone asked Montero, what is Wilson Contreras's what's his potential? And he said, perennial all-star catcher offensively and defensively.
Absolutely.
And then after that, he just continued to hit, and now look at him now. And it seems like good catcher is one of the hardest things to find these days.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll transition into some NBA free agency talk, maybe. Paul George is somewhere new now, as we know. And, it's going to be pretty interesting. Could LeBron leave? Maybe not this year, but next year, too. We'll ask that question as well.
He doesn't sound happy.
No, he doesn't. You're listening to Sports Renegades, sportstownchicago.com. The Sports Renegades podcast on sportstownchicago.com.